she adored Justin. She did. I'm sorry. She absolutely adored Justin. We could show you clip after clip after clip. Obviously, you can read the lawsuit and see the emails. And then, like I said, she got Blakeified, Reynoldsified, and suddenly she's in love with Blake in so much that she's allowing Justin to be treated terribly. That's the way the public is reading this, and they're right to read it that way. Suddenly, Justin files his countersuit, and there's major backlash against her for having supported Blake, but not having said anything about Justin. And really, this happened because of mommy sleuths, right? Like, we pieced together what started to look like sending your young son to school, in elementary school, only to discover that there's a bunch of cool kids in the cafeteria that are mocking him and like throwing food at him. You know what I mean? It's like throwing food at him, calling him a loser. And then you find out he's been eating alone in the classroom with the teacher ever since. It's just heartbreaking. And you're going, why? Why is this happening to him? And so the tables turned very quickly against Colleen. People expected her to then now give a more informed answer, a more informed response as to how she could have gone along with what is appearing to be such obvious forms of bullying. And so Colleen deactivated her Instagram on January 21st. And she has now just reemerged, and she's cleaned out her Instagram page. She has, without question, deleted 5 Instagram posts. And the internet is certain that these were all of the Instagram posts of her and Blake Lively. Essentially, not that she's posting of Justin Baldoni, not that she has moved to refollow Justin Baldoni, but it seems like she's taking at least a more neutral stance on Instagram. So how do we know for a fact that...
What if the flawless snapshots we see on glossy magazine covers and the breathtaking elegance of red carpets aren't the full story? What if behind those polished images lies a far more complicated reality, one that can unravel the moment a case reaches the courtroom? That's the uneasy question surrounding Blake Lively, one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, as she becomes entangled in a tense and very public legal fight with actor-director Justin Baldoni. For years, Lively's brand has been built on a foundation of perfection. She was the approachable Hollywood sweetheart, effortlessly balancing motherhood, philanthropy, and an ever-flawless fashion sense. But court filings and legal maneuvers have now torn open that pristine image, reminding the world that even the brightest stars aren't immune to scrutiny. The courtroom, after all, doesn't bend to the glow of celebrity. It strips away the glamour and leaves only facts, evidence, and testimony to speak on your behalf. And that's where Lively's carefully crafted narrative begins to falter. Once written off as a rising face in the Hollywood crowd, she is now a global name whose presence dominates premieres and whose red carpet looks set the tone for entire seasons of style. Yet today, she is forced into a bitter standoff against Baldoni, a figure who might have remained relatively obscure had this lawsuit not shoved his name into the spotlight. Suddenly, the dynamic has shifted, her once controlled image is slipping, and the whispers surrounding her reputation are growing louder. Observers say this case is no ordinary dispute. It's a collision between image and reality, a Hollywood fairy tale colliding head-on with the uncompromising authority of the law. And while the publicists and stylists may rush to shield their star client, the courtroom offers no such protection. Here, star power fades, and even the most admired public figures can find themselves stripped of the armor that once made them untouchable. That tension only escalates with reports that Lively has sought gag orders, attempting to block Baldoni and his attorney, Brian Fredman, from releasing sensitive statements to the press. On the surface, it may seem like a strategic move. If you can't control the outcome, at least control the story. But gag orders are rarely granted outside of cases involving minors or confidential security issues, and each rejection by the court has only fueled curiosity. To many critics, her repeated attempts signal desperation, raising the question of what she fears might come out if unfiltered testimony reaches the public eye, and so, the spectacle grows. Fans accustomed to seeing Lively as the smiling, graceful star are left wondering if cracks in her image are beginning to widen beyond repair. Because this isn't the kind of Hollywood rumor that fades after a weekend cycle. This is a case that has already survived motions to dismiss, with the judge making it clear that star status will not erase the need for evidence. That refusal alone has shifted the tone of the entire dispute, making it clear this will not vanish quietly into a settlement or NDA. What began as a private dispute has evolved into a full-scale legal showdown, one now tracked with the intensity of a courtroom drama playing out in real life. The stakes are no longer just financial, they are reputational, career-defining, and perhaps irreversible. Which brings us to the central question hanging over this saga. Why is Blake Lively fighting so hard to bury this story? Is it an issue of pride, a refusal to let anyone dent the image she's worked so hard to protect? Or is it something deeper, a fear that the truth, once unleashed in a courtroom, could expose damaging secrets no team of publicists could ever spin away?
All right, you guys, it is Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni Day. Finally, to all the women out there that are watching, no matter what you do in life, you never, ever, ever go full Amber Heard. So in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, he accuses Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively of colluding.
In Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, the allegations go far beyond the usual Hollywood dispute. He claims Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively worked in lockstep against him, and the judge's refusal to dismiss the case has transformed what might have been a quiet civil matter into a high-stakes spectacle. The harder Lively pushes to smother the fire, the more it looks to outsiders like the blaze is only intensifying. But that's not even the sharpest turn yet. Because in the world of lawsuits, one word can strike fear in even the most seasoned celebrity. Deposition. A deposition is the ultimate legal stress test, hours of pointed questions under oath with no rehearsed answers, no magazine puff pieces, and no red carpet polish to fall back on. Every hesitation, every inconsistency, every half-truth can be twisted into a weapon in the courtroom. For someone like Lively, who has spent years perfecting her public image in carefully controlled settings, that reality is a nightmare scenario. Insiders claim she's been scrambling to avoid facing Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Fredman, a litigator with a reputation for being both ruthless and theatrical. He's the kind of lawyer who can turn a routine proceeding into a dramatic performance, and at one point allegedly threatened to pursue Lively into oblivion. It's the kind of declaration that could rattle even the most unshakable star. Yet in legal terms, discomfort is no excuse to sidestep a deposition. Judges expect witnesses to show up, no matter how personal or heated the circumstances may feel. And Lively's repeated attempts to delay or block the process have only heightened speculation about what she might be trying to conceal. Whispers across Hollywood suggest everything from secret backroom deals to contractual power struggles, or even scandals the public has yet to uncover. Meanwhile, critics argue that each maneuver to dodge Fredman makes her look less like a victim of harassment and more like someone desperate to keep damaging truths out of the spotlight. After all, depositions are rarely avoided unless extraordinary circumstances exist, and the more she resists, the more determined Fredman seems to put her under oath. For Lively, one misstep in that room could detonate the case wide open, but the deposition is just one piece of a much bigger storm. Lively's public identity is a brand as much as a persona, built on impeccable fashion choices, a family-oriented image, and lucrative endorsement deals that paint her as untouchable. Yet none of that translates to the courtroom. There, glossy PR strategies mean nothing against documented evidence and sworn testimony. If those files contain anything damaging, no stylist or press release can cover it up. And behind closed doors, her crisis team is almost certainly working overtime to control a narrative that is slipping further and further out of their hands. This isn't the kind of scandal that fades with a social media apology or a late-night talk show appearance. Every filing, every motion, every hearing becomes public record. It's a paper trail that can't be spun away, no matter how many agencies are pulling the strings. Which leaves fans with an uncomfortable thought. What if the woman they've admired for her grace and authenticity is not as untouchable as she's always seemed? Because even the most carefully constructed images eventually face cracks. And on the other side of the table sits Brian Fredman. To some, he's an opportunist, capitalizing on high-profile cases to raise his own profile. To others, he's simply a relentless advocate who doesn't pull punches. Either way, for Lively, he represents the most dangerous threat to her future. Rumor has it he's holding a trove of evidence, receipts, contracts, or testimony that could dismantle the persona she's built for over a decade. In that light, her resistance to a deposition begins to look less like caution and more like fear of what is ready to unleash. The battle between Lively and Fredman has become more than a legal dispute, it's a clash of narratives. Supporters of Lively rally around her as a beloved actress unfairly targeted by aggressive tactics, while Fredman's camp insists she's fighting to keep damaging truths hidden. Online, the discourse has spiraled into factions: Team Blake versus Team Fredman, each amplifying every rumor, leak, or court update.
know for a fact that the mainstream media will lie and they will smear on behalf of their power, the fact that she is a modern feminist. And so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any.
On the other side, Team Baldoni paints a very different picture. To them, Blake Lively's recent maneuvers aren't just about legal strategy, they reveal a far more calculated and controlling side of her carefully built persona. And in their version of the story, Brian Fredman steps into the spotlight not as the aggressor, but as the truth seeker. The man willing to pierce the Hollywood veil and expose what's really happening behind the cameras and couture gowns. The media, of course, has wasted no time fueling the blaze. Every filing, every whispered claim, every offhand comment has been spun into headlines and hashtags. On TikTok, YouTube, and across the social media sphere, speculation has exploded into a frenzy where the most dramatic takes rise to the top. Outrageous claims generate clicks, and with each viral post, the appetite for scandal grows stronger. Public curiosity in this case is not just steady, it's ravenous, demanding more drama, more secrets, more spectacle. And so a sobering question takes center stage. Is the Blake Lively the world adores a genuine figure, or is she a finely tuned projection? A brand so polished that every flaw has been airbrushed, every misstep covered, every imperfection erased. In Hollywood, mistakes aren't just embarrassing, they're professional landmines. One wrong move can undo years of work. And often, another ambitious name is waiting in the wings, ready to seize the spotlight created by someone else's collapse. That's the cycle, brutal, unforgiving, and constant. A single scandal can devastate one career while simultaneously launching another. Which is why the stakes in this case feel so suffocatingly high. The risk isn't limited to Lively's personal reputation, it extends to the livelihoods of everyone tied to her brand. Future contracts, advertising deals, production commitments all hang in the balance. And that pressure creates a spectacle no one can turn away from. Because at its core, this isn't just a technical legal dispute. It's a showdown where the survival of an empire is at stake. If the case goes to trial, the courtroom will become Hollywood's most watched stage. Every word Lively utters, every shift in her expression, every exchange between the attorneys will be dissected by journalists, debated by bloggers, and magnified endlessly online. The audience won't look away, they'll lean in closer, eager for the next twist in what feels like a real-time legal drama. And it won't stop with her. If this storm intensifies, subpoenas could draw in co-stars, producers, executives, pulling more and more names into the chaos. Each new player would add to the fire, turning one actress's legal battle into a scandal capable of shaking the industry itself. At the heart of it all lies a larger reckoning, the collision between Hollywood illusion and legal reality. For decades, stars have lived behind immaculate facades, their images so carefully engineered that truth and fiction blur together. But the courtroom is not a film set. It doesn't bend to narratives or spin. When sworn testimony and hard evidence take the stage, even the most polished public image can begin to fracture. And that's the tension gripping everyone watching. Can Blake Lively preserve her picture-perfect persona once the courtroom lights are aimed directly at her? Or will the trial expose flaws and secrets too damaging to contain, setting off a bombshell that no crisis team can spin away? Because if something truly explosive lies beneath the surface, its impact won't just bruise her career, it could permanently rewrite her story. It would be a reminder to every star that no image, no matter how flawlessly designed, is immune from collapse. So the suspense builds with each passing day. Will her star power shield her from the reckoning? Or will the legal process strip away the myth and force a reality she cannot escape? Until then, all anyone can do is speculate, analyze each new twist, and brace for the moment when the truth finally erupts. Because if this saga ends in implosion, it won't be a clean Hollywood finale. It will be a cautionary tale of how even the brightest stars can burn out under the relentless glare of truth.